Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment here with my co-host Manny for our May 2025 State of the Saga discussion.
So I'm Manny, and in these monthly update shows, we'll be talking about what we've been listening to, playing, reading, and/or watching, and probably also just general stuff that's going on with our lives and maybe even recent pop culture happenings.
Before we get started, just a heads up that you can follow me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at a Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Benissimo Art.
Just a few house cleaning items before we dig in. First, thank you to any patrons who are joining us for this patron-only live stream of this month's State of the Saga. Second, thank you also to any of you who are watching the early release of the live stream recording. You guys are such a big part of helping us keep the lights on, so to speak, for Geek Saga Entertainment, and we truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you and the support you give. Finally, if you're watching or listening to this recording once it's gone public, pretty please make sure to hit those like and or subscribe buttons. And if you're catching it somewhere where you can give it a rating, it would really help us out if you could mark it 5 stars. Also, if you aren't already part of our Patreon family, please check out our sponsorship options. For just $5 a month, you can watch our State of the Saga episodes live, while for just $3 a month, you get early access to these live stream recordings and all podcast episodes, plus a bunch of other stuff. We recently revamped the Patreon and still kind of doing a little bit of work here and there on it and hoping to kind of do a soft relaunch, I would say beginning of June. So check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
With all that out of the way, we're going to kick this month's episode off with news and/or general gossip.
I've got a few things to talk about. I think let's bounce back and forth. I'll do one, you do one. I'm putting this here versus the watching section because it's a movie that's currently in theaters and all like very recently came out. But I did see Thunderbolts ***.
Asterisk. What did you see it from like the?
I honestly, it's a spoiler as to why there's an asterisk. So if you haven't been spoiled yet, I won't say anything. But it wasn't quite what I expected. But despite being pretty exhausted with Marvel stuff, I did enjoy it. It helps that a new character who appears in it, the Sentry, was co-created by a friend of mine, Paul Jenkins. We got to see Paul when he was in LA for the premiere, which was just really cool for him to be able to, as a comic creator, to be able to go out and go to like, you know, a big Marvel movie premiere finally. He doesn't write for Marvel anymore, but he did for a while. He wrote some Wolverine stuff as well, Wolverine Origins back in the day. So I had a more personal connection to the movie than I would have otherwise. Obviously, it was good. I'm very exhausted with Marvel stuff. So if I set my exhaustion aside, I would give it in general entertaining movie scale. I would maybe give it like a 7 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10. Like it's good. It's entertaining. It's no groundbreaking movie or anything, but I liked it. It's a little bit Suicide Squad, but nowhere near as bad as the Suicide Squad movie was. So there is that.
That's good. You know, but it's like when they did the Black Widow movie way later than they should have. The cast of characters that they had in it really pulled it through and made it a very enjoyable movie.
Yeah,
you know?
if it had come out earlier, I think it would have been so much more popular. I liked it. Same thing as with this one. Like, I liked the Black Widow movie. It was entertaining. It was good for what it was. It felt really out of place timing wise, considering at that point in the MCU, she was already dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Like dead. Not secret, possibly coming back dead.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Just to tack onto this isn't really news, but I do really want to see Sinners like so bad. And I fucking despise going to the movie theater. The only reason we went and saw Thunderbolts was because we told Paul that we would. Otherwise, I would, let's wait for it to be streaming in like 2 months. But I do really want to see Sinners. I was going to try and go see it this weekend. For those of you listening to the podcast, we record these like 2+ weeks before the actual podcast episode comes out. So hopefully by the time the podcast version of this comes out, I will have seen it. I was hoping to go see it tomorrow, which would be Sunday, May 11th, but today got away from me entirely and I have way too much to do still. So maybe next weekend if it's still in theaters. Yeah. I have one more thing I want to talk about in this section, but what have you been up to lately, like personally?
So a few weeks ago, I went to take my kids to the theater. There was a Hatsune Miku movie that apparently came out back in 2022 or I don't know what They're really into it. If you don't know what Hatsune Miku is, just look online. Chances are you do know what it is. You just don't realize it. It's one of those really popular things. She's what you would call a Vocaloid. So a Vocaloid, what it is, it's a computer generated voice pretty much. So this is like what you see with those concerts where they have full blown concerts, Hatsune Miku concerts. That's literally a hologram of this character.
I looked it up when you said look it up, but as you're talking, I realized that yes, I absolutely know. I don't know if I know her specifically, but I know what you're talking about with the sort of the concerts and stuff. So
yeah. So it was like cool. It was like an anime movie, and I took them with it, and I just thought, okay, well, there's some Hatsune Miku songs I like and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, it'll be interesting to go and check out. But the movie cut a little deeper than I had anticipated it cutting. I was like, I thought this was just going to be like an anime movie, but the whole rundown is pretty much, they don't say what it is, but you can see it's kind of the aftermath of the global pandemic, working from home, like people working a lot harder now, the economy. They don't mention any of those things, but you can see the outcome here because they show it where you see people working and like their phone will buzz with something that is maybe fun and they just like ignore it. So it's pretty much just like the everyday life of people who just, they work their ass off. And there's one guy who you can see he has like art stuff and it's just sitting on the table collecting dust. And he used to be really into it. He used to like doing it, but he can't anymore, which is very relatable to me personally, because I have so many things that like I started and I just never finished because it's like I got to work twice as hard because the economy's fucked. Then after the fucking lockdown, you know, we all got creative during lockdown, right? Because it was like we discovered new things. Okay, maybe you didn't, but I did. That's how I started drawing for real, was during the actual pandemic because I had extra money and I was still working too. So it wasn't like I was losing out on anything. And I went out and I bought me an iPad and just sat there and I would sit at home and I would draw for 6 hours a day, 6 hours a day, every single day, every single day, every single day. So that was like when the creative thing. And then now looking at where I'm at now, and it's like, dude, it's so hard for me to pick the thing up because I have so much other stuff going on. I have so many things. So in essence, that's what it was. It's that nobody could hear this character anymore sing. They couldn't hear her sing anymore because nobody was listening anymore. They were too caught up in their stuff. So it's pretty much about the death of creativity because of circumstances. It cut a little deeper than I thought it was. It was actually good.
Yeah, I shook my head when you said like, oh, people became more creative during the pandemic. A lot of people did, for sure. I was not one of those people. To be fair, in 2019, I had a lot of really hard stuff happen. I lost my heart dog in March of that year. And then in November, I lost my heart cat. I just felt like I was finally getting things back on track. End of 2019, beginning of 2020, and the pandemic happened and I crashed and burned hard. And not only that, but I worked way more from like February 2020 until the job I was at. I started this job in 2017. I went to another company in early 2022. And I always worked more than 40 hours, usually 50-ish hours a week prior to February 2020. But starting in February 2020, it became 60 and then 70 hours a week. Most weeks, I could probably count on one hand the number of times I worked less than 60 hours a week because the industry that I worked in, all of these in-person events that we would present at, they didn't happen anymore. But instead of us having one talk at this medical convention, they turned that one, what should have been an hour-long talk into a webcast with 3 podcasts attached and then 10 other things added to it. I was spending 3 times the amount of hours on these things. And now I work less hours than that for sure, but I'm still struggling to get my creativity back. And I honestly think some of it is just, I live in like a suburban hellscape in California, and I do so much more creative stuff and feel so much more creative when I'm in Greenville or like in New Orleans, even on vacation. Hopefully soon I can pick that back up. But I totally get it though, because for one reason or another, what happened in 2020, it might have spurred people's creativity for a while, but the state of the world right now doesn't help things either.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. No, it certainly did, because I had the same experience when the pandemic first happened, because I work in IT. We used to use local servers at the place that we worked at, and we were migrating everybody we were in the preliminary discussions about migrating everyone to like Office 365, which is all the thing. When the pandemic happened, we had to go full throttle, and it's like, we don't even know what we know. Like, there's a lot of known unknowns here that we need to just go and so yeah, those first few months was definitely hectic, 60-hour work weeks, and it was crazy. But fortunately, we were smart enough to figure it out pretty quickly. And then there was a lot of downtime. My hours were different back then also, because I'd work from 7 to 4. So I would have these nice big blocks of free time, unlike now. And that's what did it for me. It was wild times. games.
Your next thing, other things you saw recently.
Yeah, so I sat down and actually watched the trailer for the Fantastic Four. I didn't really care about it. I was just like, whatever. But I watched it and I was like, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like an older school Marvel movie, like when they first started making these. I don't know. It's got Pedro Pascal. I'm a big fan of his. I'll watch anything.
Who isn't?
Yeah, exactly. But no, it actually looks interesting. Probably the movie that should have came out years fucking before, but I'm
Yeah.
hoping that it's good and not just kind of watered down, whatever. But I think that I feel like the Fantastic Four could quite possibly be the reboot that Marvel needs right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of the Marvel stuff is just, I mean, like, everyone's got the superhero fatigue at this point. Like, if it was me,
Yep.
I'd have just closed the books and not made another superhero movie for the next 10 years to get people remembering what they liked and then hype them up and then do it again, And I think that even though they would have lost 10 years of revenue from superhero stuff, they're probably going to make 3 times as more on the back end, after they start redoing stuff. But it is going to be interesting because I'm sure it's going to be, it'll obviously be introducing X-Men, which is where Marvel needs to go, and they need to drop that multiverse garbage because
I don't know. I think there might still be some multiverse stuff happening, honestly, but
probably. But that's one of those horses that they just need to let it go out the pasture, man, because it's like, look, dude,
I'm okay with it, but it can be overdone very easily, and they've been riding that line. For me, I just think they've been riding the line, but I might have also not watched some things where they might have made it worse. So there is that.
I just feel like when the multiverse it was a great idea, like in the comic, like it was cool. They play it off in some movies really cool, like Deadpool and Wolverine. That was actually done very well with it. But when you get into like the Doctor Strange and like all this kind of stuff, as much as I love Doctor Strange, I was like, look, dude, if there's a multiverse and there's just millions of multiverses, then why is anyone important anymore? Like, it doesn't matter. Oh shit, man, he got hit by a bus. That's fine. Go to another universe where he's not doing anything and just pull him out and let's put him in this one. Like, it's fine. Just fucking replace him.
How very Deadpool of you.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel like when there's so many possibilities like that, there's really no true consequences. And that's what I don't like about the angle that Marvel did, because what they built up to with, the Infinity War and Endgame and stuff was perfect. I mean, that was just great comic book cinematic stuff, the way it built up to that. And there was just these dire consequences. They even threw in the time travel part at the end to bring people back. We all knew that people were going to come back. But when they did that, it was kind of like, okay, like, I mean, you have to bring them back, sure, which is great. But out of that one, I think Infinity War was my favorite one because it ended just on this somber kind of tone and everybody's gone at this point. But it was fine and it still worked out good in the end and it was beautiful. And then they did the Spider-Man movie, that second one, right after it, which I thought was, even though that's the end story, I don't want to hear anything else. They did that one and it was perfect because it was like a really good epilogue to Tony Stark. And I was like, oh, it's fantastic. It was great. And then after that, Schwarbage. I couldn't do it.
You have a couple other trailers you've seen. Do you want to just go ahead and talk about them? The only other thing I want to talk about is like a newsy thing. So it's kind of its own separate.
Yeah. So 2 trailers. Well, I guess 3 actually. But the first one that I want to talk about is kind of weird, is like for the Naked Gun. Oh, so I don't know how many people are familiar in the younger realm as to what the Naked Gun is or Police Squad. It was really goofy humor with Leslie Nielsen. It was really funny for the time. And it's not that it was inappropriate. It's just that kind of humor doesn't translate well in modern day because we're not like slapstick like we used to be. So that's why some of these movies, I'm like, they just don't translate. And the trailer there was some funny moments in the trailer, but I'm like, this movie is probably going to be hot garbage. Like,
I didn't even know they were making another one, honestly.
Dude, it came up in like my suggested stuff where I was like, wait, the Naked Gun, Leslie Nielsen.
Are you sure it was real? Did you double check that it wasn't a fan thing?
No, I did. I saw the trailer. Okay. You can watch. Yeah, no, because I saw it.
Like, listen, I trust you and everything, but the fan stuff can be, and that's how, if it comes up randomly in my feed and I haven't heard anything about it, I immediately am like, but is this real?
I did see it on Facebook and that's what I thought. And I was like, oh, this is one of those fake things. But then I went on YouTube and searched for it. And from the movie studio, it was there. And I was like, you guys got to be fucking kidding me. This is not going to fly. I don't think that people are into that type of humor at this point. So I can only imagine that the humor is, because the humor in the older ones, it wasn't dirty, right? It was just stupid, slapstick, kind of innocent kind of stuff. But I feel like the way that they compensate for that today is to make things as
Yeah.
shock value as possible, or
Yeah.
is something like that. So it's like, yeah, it would be nice if they just came up with some new ideas instead of pulling out these old corpses.
And there's plenty of stuff out there to pull from. The stuff I've been reading, for instance, which we'll get
Yeah.
into later, it's like
Hmm.
there's definitely tons of stuff out there that is worthy of a show or a movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
But will they ever make it? Because they're so busy they're still just trying to cash in on the nostalgia train.
Yeah, yeah. But to pick Naked Gun is kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's
I
like a
agree.
weird one. That one is kind of niche, but maybe it will be successful because maybe the older people, like me, are going to be like, oh shit, I'll go watch it and whatever. And maybe it'll be true to that, and then it'll just fail everywhere else. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I saw that they're making another Mission Impossible movie. Saw the trailer. I haven't watched any, I think, since part 3. And I don't even know when part 3 was, mid 2000s, I guess, or something. Like it was a long time ago. But I really do still go and I watch scenes on YouTube. 'Cause I'm not interested in sitting down and watching a whole Mission Impossible movie because it wasn't really like, I wasn't super into it. I liked the first one a lot, but the other ones I was like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. But it is cool to see all the crazy stunts that Tom Cruise is doing now to try to bring something special to it as opposed to it just being a movie. I mean, he had one where he tied himself on the side of an airplane, one where he's going to fucking space or I don't know what the fuck. And it's like, so there's like all these things and he's the one doing it. It's neat to see that. It's like, man, that's cool because he's got to be in his fucking late 50s now or 60s. I don't even know how old he is, but and he's like doing all this wild stuff. And aside from that, I saw they were doing like a new Now You See Me movie with what's his face? Can't remember what his name is. It's the one with like the magic tricks and all this shit. I can't think of the guy's name. He played Lex Luthor in the Superman movie.
Oh, Jesse Eisenberg. If you had said Zombieland, I would have gotten it like that.
Yeah, I forgot he was in Zombieland actually, but yeah, so it looks fun because those movies were always fun.
So one of the things I wanted to bring up is I'm just in this sort of like, what is up with conventions lately mode. I don't know if maybe I'm just hearing more about the shitty handling of like convention cancellations or conventions that happen but go really badly more often all of a sudden, or if it really is just a more common thing. But there was a Star Trek themed convention being run by the guy who founded Gays in Space. I think
Okay.
you're supposed to say Gays in Space
space.
because there's like a billion Y's and A's in it.
Yeah.
And there's been some drama happening with this event for a year or more now because there was some talk about the guy who runs it was claiming that he was doing like some nonprofit thing and giving money to like underprivileged kids to go to space camp. And supposedly that maybe never happened. And then there was like, they called it, I want to say it's like Diversity and Inclusion Convention or something like that was the name of the convention. There was no equity in the name as far as I remember. I think it was just like Diversity and Inclusion Convention and it was Star Trek themed. And there might have been guests from like other things there, but one year, not last year, but the year before, maybe, I don't know, one of the past couple events that they had, there was this whole thing where people were kind of accusing him of possibly using the convention and the money he made from like selling tickets and stuff like that, and possibly even money from sponsors to make it like a big wedding and party for him to get married to his partner. Listen, I haven't done a ton of research, so I can't say that that is absolutely what happened, but there were enough rumors and enough trustworthy sources that I would not be shocked if that was in fact the case and he was just using that, at least that 1 year's event for him to throw himself a big fancy wedding party. It was supposed to happen this year, the first weekend of May, so like the 2nd through the 4th or whatever that was. And on April 20th, I want to say, the organizer sent out an email saying it was canceled, so like 2 weeks ish ahead of time. There have been like news stories. The local ABC station in like Philly or wherever it was supposed to be happening did a story because people were saying that they were told they could get refunds, but there was no refund information. And when they reached out for more information on refunds, they were told like, hey, I've received your request for more information. I'll get back to you soon. And then didn't receive any more information. And to be fair, my news on this is about 4 or 5 days old, maybe, but I did check. I have checked on it at least once and haven't seen anything new from like my sources, but just my God, I mean, the story was that they lost sponsorships because of the DEI cutbacks that are happening in government. Possibly the Air Force or something was like one of their sponsors. I don't know. It seems odd that a convention, like a Star Trek themed convention, is being sponsored by people who would pull out so last minute, so entirely that they couldn't have the convention at all.
Yeah.
Because by that point, you would have assumed, as somebody who I ran conventions for years, I very possibly will run one again in the future, but I've only done it with guests a couple times. And by 2 weeks before the convention, you already have your guests' plane tickets purchased and
Yeah.
possibly already paid out, a deposit to them for their guarantee if they have one. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of running a convention. If
Mhm.
somebody is listening to this and really wants to know more details, just shoot me an email at geeksaga@gmail.com. I'll give you kind of a basic rundown. I will not give you business advice because that costs money
Yeah.
consulting wise, but I can give you just kind of a basic rundown. It seems really odd to me that it was canceled like 2 weeks ahead of time and they're blaming loss of sponsorships. And I'm kind of wondering, was it something like that, or was it more they didn't get enough ticket sales and they felt that they couldn't? This is speculation, right? They felt that they couldn't provide the event they'd promised, so they
Mhm.
canceled it because they were like, oh, well, we can't afford to even bring these guests or whatever, and people are going to have paid all this money and expect to come here to see these guests, and
Yeah.
they aren't going to see them, so we're just going to cancel it because better to cancel than to put on a shitty event and have people complain about that. I don't know. Supposedly, people had to send in their requests for refunds for tickets and stuff by the end of this month. So, possibly by the time we do a State of the Saga in mid-June, I'll hopefully have some, information on that to update so that it's not just this is entirely speculation. But the only reason I'm even talking about this is because within like a week or so of hearing about this whole debacle, I heard about another convention. It was a romantasy book convention. So
Mhm.
romance fantasy books. It was called A Million Lives Book Festival. I think it was supposed to be taking place in like Baltimore area, possibly in Baltimore, but Baltimore, Maryland area. It was really pushed on Book Talk on TikTok, and it was supposed to be like for indie authors and book fans. It was run by a company, Archer Management or Archer Fantasy Events, and it was apparently just a disaster. Now, the company that ran it they actually apologized and are just automatically processing refunds. They're not even making people request them, it sounds
Mhm.
like. They took full responsibility. They're doing refunds for every attendee, author, and vendor, and they're canceling all of their future events and processing refunds. So the people who ran this event that apparently was a total shit show, they are handling it shockingly well. Like, that's not usually how these things go. As discussed with the event that was canceled and people are having to like request refunds. Why would you have to request a refund for an event that's canceled?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I've dealt with that with Ice and FireCon in 2020. We postponed it from April to October, and then we had to cancel the 2020 event. And we did communicate that all of your tickets will be pushed to 2021. For 2021, they were pushed to 2022. We did offer refunds if people requested them. This is a pandemic, not
Yeah,
just
that was a different situation.
we're just canceling. But yeah, this romantasy convention, I don't even know. Apparently, the convention rooms were just empty rooms. There were people going to panel rooms and there were no chairs and they were just sitting on the floor. That to me as an event organizer is just like, how the heck does that
Yeah.
even happen? Because for me, we always had our events at like small venues too, not big convention centers or convention center hotels, which is what it looks like this one was supposed to be held at, where as the organizer, I talk with the people who head up events at the venue and we go over how things are going to be laid out, tables, chairs that are needed, podiums, anything like that. And
Yeah.
everything, we are sent drawings of what the room is going to look like with the chairs and everything, and we okay them. And if during the event we, let's say, move all the chairs off the floor for our Saturday night dance party at Ice and FireCon, before we go off to do other things, whether it's to bed or to after parties, we move all those chairs back into the
Mhm.
seating position. I don't know what the heck happened here, but it's just insane to me that they had panel rooms that had no chairs. There was some content creation room that I don't even know if it existed, according to the article I read. There was a ball that I don't know if it was like extra or if it was part of a $250 ticket package that included tickets to the book convention. But the ball was just this big gray room with a couple tables that had some rose petals scattered on them and music
Mhm.
playing from a Bluetooth speaker. I don't know why this event even happened or how it happened the way it did. And the fact that this company had more events on the books that they had to cancel is just like,
It's wild.
I would like to be a fly on the wall. I would like all that tea. If by
Yeah.
some crazy chance somebody listening to this has more info, please hit me
Yep.
up. Listen, in today's economy and everything, and especially after all the drama I dealt with Ice and FireCon during 2020 and 2021, and I mean drama and like a constantly having to like postpone or cancel my events for 2 years, and just also general state of the world right now, people from overseas are afraid to come to the United States, understandably so, considering there are people, and I'm not even getting into people who live here who are being just fucking randomly deported, but people from Germany or Australia who are coming here to visit and being held in overnight or for weeks and then sent home in handcuffs until they get on the plane. Anyway, I understand how difficult it is to try to run an event in this country right now. Absolutely. But
Yep.
I'm wondering if we're going to hear about more stuff like this, or maybe it's just a weird spate of them right now. I don't know. It was just a weird, like, oh, these two things happen back to back. Not even in my world, because I'm not a Star Trek person who is like planning to go to the Star Trek event. I am not, no hate on romantasy, but it's not a thing I would generally go to a convention for. So I hadn't even heard of this one until, the drama happened with it not being a good event. But anyway, this one I think is going to be a little longer than last month. So let's get into watching. Have you been watching anything?
No, the only thing I've been actually watching has been Kitchen Nightmares in the background when I'm doing things. Because I'll be like cleaning or attempting to draw something or doing something. So I just put on like a lot of background noise. It's really difficult for me to sit down and watch anything. I just get like such little time that I'm like, there isn't anything on television right now. If it's something I'm watching right now, it has to be that something that I've kind of already seen and don't have to necessarily pay attention to it because, I'm ADHD. I love the background noise, but I can't stop and like, except for the Lord of the Rings, because those are great.
Honestly, I think that if I was living on my own, I would be the same way. And I know you don't live on your own, but like basically I watch things because I watch things with Dean. We talked about this last month, actually, the week plus that he was away. I barely even watched anything because I was just reading or like working on stuff, and I can have stuff on in the background, but same thing. Like if I was watching anything, quote unquote, it was like background noise while I worked on other stuff. But I have been watching a bunch, picking up from last month. I did finish Yellow Jackets and 1923. Both were a lot. Yellow Jackets, there's this one character who's just pretty over the top the whole show, and she just goes super extra in the back half of season 3. But either way, they're both very good. But 1923 was real. It just continued to be depressing. Like just when you think things are picking up, it's like, oh no, then the thing that made you happy, one of the people dies.
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
Again, both are really good. I don't want to give any spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched them because I do highly suggest watching Yellow Jackets, just period. And I definitely suggest watching 1923 if you've enjoyed Yellowstone, or what was the other one? 1898, 1888, whatever. It was another Yellowstone prequel with a year in it.
Yeah.
And then I would be watching Andor season 2 with or without Dean. It is awesome. Honestly, even though there are 3 more episodes releasing this coming week, and again, for those of you listening as a podcast, just a reminder that we record these much earlier in the month for our patrons, but I would have been totally happy with it ending at episode 9, which came out this week. It came out Tuesday, May 6th. So I would have been happy with them ending it there, but apparently there's 3 more episodes. So hopefully it continues being good, because it got like even better this week's. The May 6th episodes were even better than the previous ones. Like it's just, it continually got better. So
I gotta check it out one day.
if you liked Rogue One, you should. Absolutely.
I liked Rogue One. I did not like his character, is what it is. And that was like the problem with me. I just did not like his character. But everyone tells me it's really good, that I should check it out. So I probably will check it out, and I'm sure I'll probably like it. But if there's one thing that I have more fatigue than the superhero stuff, is the Star Wars stuff. I am so completely finished that I don't want to hear a lightsaber. I don't want to hear a phaser thing. I don't want to see a stormtrooper. I don't no, I'm done. we broke up. Like, get out of here.
Anyway, the only other thing we watched was Dean and I randomly got sucked into a Netflix reality star competition show called Battle Camp. Now, I don't watch reality shows like ever.
Yeah.
If that's somebody's cup of tea, that's cool. It's not mine. The only other Netflix competition show I watched was the Squid Game one, because we loved Squid Game and we just had to see what the heck they were, because obviously they weren't going to be killing people. So We
Yeah,
had to see
yeah,
what the heck
yep.
they were going to do. We actually liked the Squid Game one, but we actually kind of loved Battle Camp. Netflix reality show people that were in it aside, because we didn't know who, there were two from the Squid Game show who I remembered one of them. I did not remember the other. But yeah, we actually kind of loved Battle Camp. It made me want to do an impulsive hyper focus episode, one of my solo episodes about my summer church camp experiences.
Hmm.
But less about the church part and more just about the camp part. So,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
stay tuned for when I have time to reminisce and record that, because basically what it is they send these reality people to a summer camp type setting. They split them into teams and then they do all these challenges. A lot of the challenges are really dumb, but it was fun to watch. We really got into the people, weirdly
Hmm.
enough. Again,
Yeah.
like I said, as somebody who's not big on reality shows or competition shows, I was very pleasantly surprised watching it. And we were both into it. Like at the end, we were just
Nice.
on the edge of our seats, like, who's going to win? Who's going to win? If you get done with watching Kitchen Nightmares and you want something on in the background,
Yeah.
I suggest giving it a try, because the people are characters. They know
Yeah.
what they're doing. Okay, so have you been reading anything?
Yeah, so I actually started reading North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. That was my favorite BBC period piece show. They did like one in 2004, and it's been like my favorite one, like out of all of them. I don't know why. It's not super long. It's like 4 episodes, 4 hours long or whatever, but I've always been super into it. So I actually just recently was like, I want to go back and read the book. It was written back in the mid 1800s. It has to do with just the way like the environment was there, and it has to deal with this mill, and like it's a weird story because I don't know if it's just a commentary on the time or if it's a love story. Like I don't fucking know, but so I kind of wanted to go back and actually read the book.
Had you read it before?
No.
Oh, okay. And the book is good.
So far, yeah, I'm not that super far into it, but it's a calm read is what it is. That's what I like about it. It's like a calm read.
So it takes place in the 18. You said it was written in the 1800s?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It was written,
Elizabeth Gaskell sounds really familiar. Like I kind of wonder if I've read other stuff by
you're
her.
probably familiar with something of hers because she was kind of renowned. But yeah, I had randomly watched that miniseries like years ago, and I remember just really liking it. And back then, I was really a big fan of anything that was like on PBS when it came to like the Masterpiece Theater stuff. I used to watch all of it. I used to be really big into Downton Abbey. Anything that was like that, I loved it.
I got into Downton Abbey really late, but I did really enjoy Downton Abbey.
You can always tell the level of stress I'm going through by what I'm watching. That is like always the best pulse. So when you see me watching things like Planet Earth or the BBC period pieces, your boy is stressed.
Well, I'm definitely interested to hear how you feel about the book when you've finished, especially compared to the show that you've watched. I'll have to give it a look because it's like it sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know if it's like because it sounds like something else I've seen or watched or read or whatever, but her name sounds really familiar. So for me, reading last month when we recorded, in April when we recorded, I had just started reading Sunrise on the Reaping, which is prequel to the original Hunger Games trilogy. It focuses on Haymitch's Hunger Games. I was actually very pleasantly surprised by it because we had what I thought was a decent amount of knowledge about what Haymitch went through in his Hunger Games, but Suzanne Collins was actually able to surprise me with some twists and turns. The main thing that we knew didn't really turn out to be, I don't know, there was a twist that I wasn't really expecting with the main thing that we did know about his Hunger Games. I don't really want to say anything. I know the book's been out for close to 2 months at this point, but surely they'll make a movie and I don't want to spoil things. But yeah, it did surprise me with some twists and turns. That said, it was still depressing as fuck, which again, not surprising. It's Hunger Games and we know where Haymitch ends up. We know he ends up an alcoholic who hates his life. So it's like nothing good happened to that man because of the winning the Hunger Games. So, but it was good. I, again, pleasantly surprised. More recently, I saw someone suggest this book called Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton, and I am obsessed. I actually just finished the second book a couple hours ago. I read the first book and I was maybe 2/3 of the way into it, and I was like, I need the second book. I can't wait. So the second book is called Feral Creatures. I think it's going to be a trilogy. The second book was not quite as good as the first one, but honestly, if you've ever wondered what a hilarious and heart-wrenching post-apocalyptic tale told from the point of a pet crow would be like, this series is for you. And even if you have not wondered about that specifically, I still really, really suggest it. Like, I laughed out loud, I chuckled, I cried several times, both happy and sad tears. So in
That's
both
funny.
books, honestly.
Yeah.
So Hollow Kingdom and Feral Creatures by Kira Jane
Yeah.
Buxton. I very much suggest. And then I usually get in one audiobook per month. Currently, I'm listening to The Scandalous Confessions of Lydia Bennet, Witch. Not gonna lie, I am a sucker for Jane Austen spinoffs, which generally means Pride and Prejudice spinoffs because those are by far the most prevalent, even though
Yeah.
Sense and Sensibility is the far superior Austen novel. Do not at me with that. But anyway, this one is definitely an interesting take on Lydia Bennet and even Wickham. So
Mhm.
I'm not done with it yet, but I am surprised at how much I'm enjoying it. I kind of chose it on Spotify Premium, like on a total whim. Like, I just want something that sounds like it might be lighthearted, and I don't have to care when my Spotify Premium audiobook hours run out and I have to wait till the 25th of the month to finish it. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's one of those where I'm not itching to finish it and that I'm going to pay $13 for more credits to finish it now, but I am
Yeah.
itching to find out what happens in like the last third of the book because I only got about 2/3 of the way through. So now playing, honestly, this section is basically just for you anyway. So because my minimal
Yeah,
free
and
time is taken up by a billion other things, but you actually play things.
yeah, so I was juggling 3 games for a while, and now it's all just come down to this the SNES version of Chrono Trigger. I'm still playing it. The game was released in 95. It's one of the best role-playing games of all time. You can at me at that. You can hang me from a tree. Like, I don't care. Look, I love Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is fantastic. It's one of my favorites, but I don't know, man. There's something about Chrono Trigger that is just very touching, and it's fucking amazing. And even to this day, with it just being like a little, because you play it now and it's just like a pixel game, I guess you would consider it, right? 16-bit or whatever. But it's still extremely touching and is like great fucking storytelling. It deals with time travel, consequences of time travel. It's really wild, and it's really crazy. Like the main hero in it dies, for God's sake. And you can either finish the game while he's dead.
Spoilers.
It is 1995.
I'm
Okay?
kidding. I'm kidding. It's been out for like 30 years. I'm
It's
joking.
30 years. If you haven't gotten on, and look, anyone who plays like these kind of things, they will know what this game is, and
Yeah.
they've probably played it and they love it. But it's really cool, and it leaves the door open for many possibilities of an ending depending on what you decide to do in it. And it's very engaging, and it's just cool to play it because I have been playing it for a few months now, just kind of on and off. That even after 30 years, I'll play a game like this, and it really makes you think, what happened? At what point did video gaming get so garbagey? Why is a game that is 30 years fucking old? Now, they have great games out there, right? Because they have like Red Dead 2, obviously great narrative game.
I mean, Red Dead
Great
1 as
fucking
well.
story.
And
Red Dead
also
1.
The Last of Us.
Yeah, The Last of Us is like really good. So they do really good with these like narrative type of like games. Detroit Become Human is probably my favorite narrative game of
Oh yeah,
any.
I played a little bit
Yeah.
of that. Cam like insisted. Mostly I just watched him play it though. And
And you can, because it's like watching a
interesting.
movie. Yeah, it's interesting.
There's a lot of cutscenes in that game. A lot of
Yeah.
cutscenes.
Oh, a lot of cutscenes.
At least the way he played it, there were.
But
And I
just feel
realize now
like-
I didn't talk about watching The Last of Us, but I feel like that's a story that's gonna come next month anyway when I finish
Yeah, I
the
haven't.
second season.
I only got like 4 episodes into the first season, honestly. And it was cool. I thought they did a lot of, and I've seen scenes from the second season that they really kind of did shot for shot. And it was really impressive in some of the stuff that they did. I'll probably watch it at some point. I really, really hated the second game. So the second season, I'm just kind of like, nah.
I'm really glad I was super short on money when the second game came out, because by the time I had scraped myself together to be like, maybe I can buy it, I'd already heard enough about what happened in it to be like, I don't think I'm going to. So I haven't played the second.
Yeah.
Played the first one, not the second one. I knew what happened very soon after it came out, and therefore I knew what happened before the second season started. And I know a lot of people who don't play were upset about Joel, and even people who do play are still upset about Joel. Dean,
they're upset about it. Look, I played the first game because my brother was telling me about this game for a long time. I didn't realize how old that game was, but it had been out for a while. And I never played it because I told my brother, I'm not into zombie stuff. I don't like that. I'm just not, it's not my thing. I like, to me, the story has been overtold. I don't want to hear it anymore. And he's like, no, trust me, you like it. So eventually I went out and I bought it for like $3 at a GameStop because it was like a PS3 game, so, and I still had a PS3 and I'm like, sure, I'll pick it up. And that game was really engaging and it was so good. I'm like, wow, this is a great game. But again, a month later or 2 months later is when the second game came out. So I was playing it at the end here to where, so I didn't have to wait. I only had to wait a month or two and that was fine. I can understand why the people who had finished the game when it first came out were pissed because they waited so long for the second game to come out. And narratively, it was just kind of garbage. And like, it looks okay as a game, like it looks good, but it felt more like a DLC to the first game as opposed to doing anything new.
I got the first game, I think it was like when I bought my PS4, which was like summer, I think, maybe fall of 2014. I got the Last of Us version. It was like the Last of Us, it was, I want to say it was around Thanksgiving or something of 2014. So I got the Last of Us like bundle thing, but it was like basically the same price as just buying the PS4, but it included the Last of Us and that. So I played it like a year-ish plus after it came out. And also for me, it's a hard, like I'm not good at video games. I'm good at Red Dead because I played it a fuck ton, but I don't generally like have it in me either patience wise or time wise to like play a game enough to get super good at it. So I enjoyed it for the story for sure.
Yeah,
but that's why when the second one came out, I was like, Joel dies like immediately. I'm over it.
Yeah, I was over it really quickly. Like, I understand you wanted to do something tragic. That's cool. I didn't like the antagonist. I was like, I'm just not feeling this. But yeah, I think that the first game, what I liked so much about it is one of the things that I hate the most in any video games whatsoever are escort missions. I hate them because the person you're escorting just never seems to know how to walk in a direction. And in this game, what they did with Ellie was so good that it felt more of like a partnership as opposed to me, even though it was an escort mission, it felt more like a partnership because she was extremely helpful to me. So they did that really good.
Yeah, there are a lot of escort missions in both Red Dead games that are just like, if you veer off the path a foot to pick some herbs, because you can use, especially in Red Dead 2, you can use them to make like health tonics and stuff, and you want those herbs, right? But you veer off the path for like 2 seconds and the person's like, what are you doing? Come back, bring me an armadillo. That's but yeah, so you've pretty much only been playing Chrono Trigger then.
That's it. Chrono Trigger, and I still have the other 2 games that I was playing that I want to get back to at some point, but it's hard. I only get little bits of time to like play in there, So
yeah. All right. So listening, I don't really have much to say here. I haven't been listening to much music because I was like audiobooking for a bit. And then I'm also still listening to the fan-made True Blood podcast called Fang Bangers with a Z. It's good. It's enjoyable. It's funny. I pretty much agree with like 90% of what they say, which is nice. And I have kind of given up on the other podcasts I was listening to because I want to get through their backlog, because the episodes I'm listening to now are like season 2 and they're into like I think they've already finished like season 4. So I've got tons of episodes to go through. So just been kind of getting through that, and yeah, that's about it. But you listen to music.
Yeah, I always listen to music because I'm behind my desk, I'm on a computer all day, and I need to zone to things. I need to listen to things, just to kind of keep my brain like focused. Now, generally during the day, that just has to do with a lot more like I'll listen to like Final Fantasy music, chill hop stuff, no lyrics or anything like that. So that way I don't, you know what I'm saying? I just zone into like the music and stuff like that. But when I'm cooking, when I'm doing other stuff, or I'm driving, because I love driving and listening to music, it's one of my favorite things to do. Everyone hates driving. I absolutely adore driving and I love it. So I've been listening to like a lot of Fink. Fink was somebody I got into like recently or within the past year. And he's been kind of in my radar now. And I've just been listening to him a lot. Smilo and the Ghost was another people that I discovered. Bluegrassy, but at least the song that I was into, it's like this bluegrassy vibe, but I've never hated bluegrass. Like I've actually liked bluegrass. So it was really cool. I actually picked up listening to a lot of old drum and bass stuff from like the late 90s, early 2000s, because I was totally part of that scene. I used to do the raves and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of neat to sit down and listen to that stuff. And I also sat down to listen to The Weeknd. I couldn't stand seeing The Weeknd's face on everything all the time. I was just like, who the fuck is this guy, dude? And everyone knows who Manny is that when I hate something, then it goes into research time because I have to ask myself, why do I hate this person?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why is their face everywhere? Maybe there's something I'm missing. I sat down to listen to it and I was like, shit, it's fucking good. It's pretty good. It's a good jam. Like it's nice vibe, you know, like, yeah, he's got it going on.
Also, I like bluegrass too. It's one of those types of music that it can get old very fast, but I'll always go back to it at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe not to listen to like while I'm driving or whatever, but I don't know. Like one year I went skiing in Big Sky, Montana, and in February, I want to say it's February every year, they have a bluegrass festival. And the weekend we went happened to be their bluegrass festival, and we fucking loved it. We get 4 or 5 days of skiing in an amazing place. And also there's cool fucking things to do, cool music right there at the lodge. Because Big Sky is very much out in the middle of nowhere. If you're at the lodge there, or whatever, you're pretty much not going anywhere else. So it was cool that we happened to be there during their bluegrass weekend, and we got to see a couple shows and everything. No, several shows. I want to say we went to like one each night for like 3 nights in a row. I forgot to mention this in the watching section, but as you listen to music while you are working and stuff, I do have shows on in the background, but always stuff that I've seen before. And I've been trying to get through Ted Lasso because I canceled my Apple TV Plus subscription because they don't really have anything new coming out that I'm super into. But my subscription ends on like the 16th or 17th of May. I was like, shit, because I had started rewatching it and gotten like a few episodes in and then kind of gotten busy with other things. I was like, no, I'm going to rewatch all of Ted Lasso before I lose my Apple TV Plus subscription. So I'm into season 3 now. I may or may not finish it. We'll see before the subscription runs out, because again, we're recording this on May 10th, so like I have 6 days. We'll see what happens, because I tried putting it on for Dean and he just is like, soccer, I'm not watching this. And I'm like, football is life.
Yeah.
Danny Rojas. And then like Dean went to bed earlier one night. He had to get up super early the next morning, and Cam came down and I was watching it. And he's like, can I put one of my YouTube things on? And I was like, I guess. Like, but also this is sounding really judgmental, and I know that. I thought about like posting it online, and I was like, no, I'm just going to get so much nasty feedback. I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say it here. I think that if you don't like Ted Lasso, you are one of 2 types of people. You have not even tried watching it, like really tried, sat through a couple episodes, and therefore you don't know it, or you just have bad taste. You watch more of it than that and you have bad taste. I'm sorry, but I don't care if you don't like soccer. I'm not a huge soccer/football fan. When I lived in Orlando, we used to go to this bar in downtown Orlando, English pub that was owned by Tottenham Hotspurs fans. That's a soccer club in England. And so my SO and I at the time were like, okay, well, we go here all the time. We're Tottenham Hotspurs fans now. And we actually like paid attention to the team for a bit. And so I like watching soccer. I think it's one of the more interesting sports to watch, honestly, in terms of like, and I'm not a big, huge sports watching fan. I like baseball, but mostly only in person. I don't love watching it on TV. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, that not to get back into watching stuff, but I forgot to mention it in watching, where I'm like, I'm trucking through it right now. Maybe I'll finish, maybe I won't. Guess you'll find out next month when we record State of the Saga. Okay, in conclusion, upcoming events are things that you are excited about. Anything on your horizon? No,
not this month. This month is going to be a quiet month. I think there's a Ninja Sex Party show at the beginning of the month that we'll be going to. Yeah, but that's about it.
As of right now, I'll be in South Carolina in like a week and a half. So by the time this comes out as a podcast, I will have already been there, done that. I'm hoping actually for the move to happen this summer, but it's going to be interesting timing wise. But I will be there for my niece's graduation. This is my first trip literally anywhere since my surgery in February. My oldest niece is graduating high school, so I don't want to go sit through her 4-hour graduation ceremony, but I will. I do want to support her. I just don't want to sit through this nonsense again. Like I did it last year for Cam, and I was like, yeah, Cam. But I am excited for this just because like my whole family is going to be there for it and everything, but also 4-hour high school graduation ceremony. Like this is when I think back to how my class is only 150 people and the
Yeah.
ceremony was
Yeah.
like an hour long or something. Also, like now that the Hyatt rooms have been charged for Dragon Con, I've really dug into some Dragon Con planning. I have
Nice.
bought pieces for one of my costumes. It's a laid back costume, and planning our annual Sunday night party, looking at a calendar and being like, oh, so this is the Saturday in August that we're going to do Drinkin' Con before the convention and stuff. So not happening for a while, but I've been
Yeah,
at the very least, like I'm a little more excited about it.
that's good.
Well, as we close out the episode, once again, want to give a huge thank you to our patrons for your support. Make sure to check out our other Geek Saga show series, including Media That Made Us. We are currently covering the Lord of the Rings movies. Whoop, whoop. So yeah, check out that, and also 90s and Naughties Cringe Factor, the Impulsive Hyperfocus solo episodes, and more. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, or rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. And as always, please consider supporting us by backing our Patreon if you aren't already at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.